For the next 100 days, I'll be stuck in this tiny border. For every 10 days that I survive, the border expands a little bit more, giving me access to new blocks and materials. I end up building a huge base and taking on some of the strongest bosses, so strap in as I journey on this epic adventure. Day 1, we spawned on the world with basically no area. We are stuck in here for the foreseeable future, so it was best to get to work. I saw a pig also upset that he was trapped in here with us, but that's future bacon. We took down a few trees and got tools right away. Getting resources before our hunger runs out is the goal. I really want to save Sir Bacon Wiggly until we find him a mate. I just made that up right now, really should have thought that one out sooner. After getting a few stone and even finding a bit of coal, I headed back up to the surface once my pickaxe broke and made a fresh stone set. And since Chloe took down all of the trees in that time, we went back down to find some more ores. The only thing at this start was a bunch of coal. Like, I need more of that. Trust me, we will, just a matter of time. A bit more time passed as I dug into a cave, the first one in our small plot of land. I checked out the top and spotted a few too many mobs. Thanks to the border, everything spawns in this chunk, so smacking some mob feed it was. Mining down a bit further, I found another cave, killed off a skeleton, and was able to get my first iron, both veins of it being clipped by the border. However, the third one was free and clear if my pickaxe didn't have to break. I emerged from the cave and it was still night, so I don't really want to be up here. I quickly crafted a new pickaxe and started my iron smelting. Then I went back down for my prize. As I continued into the depths finding our first Steve Slate and a new cave, whacked off a few zombies and got a bit more iron. Such an extravagant day 1, but all of this is needed if we are to accomplish our goals. Day 2, shocker, I'm still down in the caves, but now I had found a mine shaft. This looks promising. Okay, no it doesn't, I can't really heal. I ate up my rotten flesh as I cowered behind a wall, snuck back into the light, and karate chopped my enemy with an axe. And yes, using a weapon still counts as karate. I looked it up. I explored the remaining cave for anything good and it didn't look too promising. However, the further down I went, the better. The lava I blocked off uncovered a chest. It had a name tag and a few pumpkin seeds. Best of all, it's set next to 2 diamonds in the wall. Too bad I can't really get these with my stone, no matter how much I want to. Back on the surface, Chloe had the supply and demand of trees. Other than actually needing wood for the future builds, apples are the only good food source we have access to at the time, so her monopoly up here was in good intent. To end out the day, I continued the underground ant colony by finding nothing at all. Ever. I hate it down here. Oh look, more of the mine shaft. The lucky part was that it was a zombie villager, but we have 0 items to cure it, so not worth the effort. Back up in the rain on day 3, I helped out with the tree chopping. With such little space, we can't feasibly make a real base, so working on wood supply is just for future projects. Then I remembered seeds don't require water to grow. Although it's raining, I went and bone mealed a bit of food, 5 wheat to be exact, so much bread. I also used our limited iron on a cauldron, as we have no idea if water is anywhere close to us, and as this guy cried, we sought to collect as much of it as we could. Chloe has also already started to organize the chest, not that it won't stop me from messing it up later. I headed into the mines to start a passion project of mine, a small mob farm for the time being. I cleared out one of the first caves in the mine shaft to begin the base layer of the project. And I also tried my hand at hiding light so mobs spawn in the correct areas. I made the mistake of leaving for a second or 2, and on the way back down, it had worked. I quickly blocked off the mobs and cleared them out one at a time until I made it back in there to start the work back up again. Without water, this was pretty hard. The idea was to have a chamber where I can hit mobs after they see me. I also made an upper deck because I thought it was cool, but turns out it'll just be hiding mobs from me later. Not good. And once again made the mistake of wanting rotten flesh to heal up, which caused my creations to spawn many more things. The top area specifically was an issue. I cleared out the mobs I could see, then mined out to make sure nothing else was around. Little did I know what was waiting for me. 2 skeletons followed me down the hole, hitting me to less than 2 hearts. I blocked up so fast you wouldn't believe it. Luckily, I was able to kill both skeletons without succumbing to death. However, it's safe to say that the project worked. We can now collect much needed items like rotten flesh, gunpowder, bones, and string. Holy wait, I was just trying to show cool stuff. Why did it all blow up? Maybe it doesn't work as well as I previously thought? To check on Chloe, she had gathered almost 3 stacks of wood, which I used to make a shield so I could get back down there and re-clear out all of the mobs in the farm once again. Best thing about it was I got a carrot, so now we can breed the pig if we ever find a second one. I used our bone meal to grow up the carrot population so we can establish our first natural food source. Only took us 5 days, but now we can survive with real food. And after mining below for a bit, I was able to make our first golden carrot, which officially I gave to Chloe, as she's been working hard up here, and I'm not that hungry. Then I just finished out day 5, taking care of more mobs and getting quite a bit of levels. The next 4 days were spent, shocker, in the mines, halved between the level we could find iron and diamonds. At the top of the current chunk we were working with, we mined in a pattern allowing us to see every block at that height. The hope was that along the way we would uncover coal and iron. Then, when we went further into the ground with a stone pickaxe, mind you, we looked to uncover gold and diamonds. This process took us days to do, as we didn't want to waste any material to speed this up. This chunk doesn't have that many resources, so the stone pickaxe was our best vessel for mining. The important stuff we found was a lot of gold, which I guess is kinda needed, but also a new vein of diamonds. I grabbed up all the gold and diamonds with our iron pickaxe and went back to farming food. Day 10 started out by me watching the border expand our first 10 blocks, allowing us to now walk in a 26 by 26. It also opened up more trees that needed to be cut down. Then I started thinking about our base build. I want to make a castle that will grow in size with the border, so it's going to take the entire video to finish. I also went back through the cave system to light up the new areas and get any of the ores that were cut off from the border before. I was able to snag up an extra gold and some diamonds, but when I went back up to the surface, our mob farm was infested with creepers, which means I had to kill off everything by hand, then patch it back up for future use. Day 11, I thought I would introduce you to Chloe's organization system, which makes our chest look not half bad. Then I would go to work on terraforming our land a little bit, as part of it has a pretty steep drop-off. Then once that was done, I laid out a farm using water that Chloe had fortunately found underground, meaning we didn't have to wait on the cauldron. I used the farm for our carrots and wheat, since those are our main food sources this early on. However, I do want to end the veganism as soon as possible, so I hope for another pig shortly. Day 12, we redid Chloe's storage system when having to move it over a bit so we can start the castle. Then I terraformed a bit of land to muster up the courage to start this build. I came up with a gradient from deep slate tiles all the way to cobblestone that I plan to use for the future build. I went layer by layer, constructing the starting wall and base towers in the area that I had to work with, which again was super small. My ideas are so much larger than the border offers, but it started to work out shortly. I also added a front gate, like a door wouldn't suffice. We are only 2 people after all, but I also noticed that I messed up on one of the towers, so I had to go back through and fix any mistake I had made. Twice. But we won't talk about that part. However, I also made the cross section a bit too tall, so I had to take that down as well. I swear at some point this thing will be finished. After such blunder, I went back to continue the decor of the tower, adding some wood to the base, propping up the tower to really curve the structure, and making the railing for the castle gate. Next, I headed to the top of the towers to at least start their shape. Some of it was cut off thanks to the border, but I did all that I could. At least you now have a slight idea for the build ahead of us. This all took me 4 days to do, but now I have a real vision in place. Now, since the border's expansion a few days ago, there was another 10 blocks to work with down in the caves, so I want to go back down to check for diamonds. I scanned the outside of the border at diamond level. Luckily, I found my first vein of diamonds, but with it attached to an unknown world. At this moment, it could only be a 4 vein. I continued my search to find more diamonds, exploring the place more and more, but sometimes I was still unlucky with my finds. Most will need to be gathered at a much later date. I also went back to the mob farm, which still works really well for how jank it is, then finished the days off by farming. Yay. We realized pretty early on that to get enchants, we were going to need a book, so I terraformed the land a bit, added some water, and boom, Chloe's own fishing pond. We were here for the rest of the day, enjoying not only fishing, but also the company. I do remember the first video Chloe was in did pretty well thanks to fishing, so I have a new perspective on the sport. The next couple of days we took up fishing as well, still hoping for that book find. Although the chance of actually finding treasure loot instead of junk is like 5% or less depending on how big of an area we've made. Meaning the entire setup that you're watching now could be all for nothing because it's not a real ocean or river or pond or it's water. I guess it should work. However, while you're here, let me remind you to like the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. If this video hits 30,000 likes, I will do 200 days. Meaning the border can keep expanding and I can keep exploring this world for as long as you guys want me to. So please go do that, I guess? I don't know. Back to fishing. Wait, why are we back to fishing? I thought this ended by now. On today's 20 through 24, where the border has expanded, our small chunk is slowly growing into a playable world. I journeyed the new land and cut down all the trees in our square. Then I had the room to expand Chloe's pond, so we have a much larger chance to catch that book. I know that's really not how it works, but I'm going to keep explaining it like it, and the larger pond makes her happy, so here we go. Then I moved on to finishing the parts of the castle that were not detailed thanks to the border. I made them a bit spikier than I anticipated, but the fact that they kinda look like tridents makes the design that much better. Also, with the extended border, I could head into the mines to find brand new caves. The most important thing was a huge cave opening, surely taller than our castle, and a real mess to light up. I also found a few creepers, but that's kind of besides the point. I backtracked my way through the caves to find the ores that hid from us in the blue lines, and yes, 9 extra diamonds are now ours to use however we need. Lastly, I began work on a new and improved mob farm, one that should give us 10x the drops. I pillared up into the sky from the corner and branched out to get a middle platform. The build itself is substandard, but designed to look okay, so it's not too much of a stain on this world. But 2 more days wasn't enough to finish it all, as it still had a ton of levels for the mobs to spawn on. Thankfully, I was able to finish the project on day 25 and test that it worked, which was a success. With this, beds are more likely, rotten flesh is a technical food source, and we have bone meal for all of our crops, so I'm not eating dead people, which kind of hits on the last point. With a successful mob farm, I used it to get a villager zombie. At this point, the only way we can successfully have enough gear to survive these 100 days is with villagers, either using mending to save diamonds or strictly buying the armor from a scummy tradesman. So to join our zombie villager, we trapped a witch, then put it in a special box. We will use it to get the weakness effect on 2 zombie villagers, which we added to our cobble pile next. Just in the nick of time too, it was almost day. Then for the next 20 or 30 minutes, we would trade off on witch potion throws. She would poison one of us, then we would eat a ton of food while the other one got the same unfortunate treatment. Until it all changed with one throw. Weakness! Finally! I was able to section off the witch and move the soon-to-be villagers into their own areas. Once they were ready, I moved them into a breeder and sealed it. Handed them some carrots and got the future babies on the way. Then I finished the night off with some tree chopping, which gave me the inspiration for a villager booth in the village. I built up a stable to house the villagers, then made a roof out of diorite since wool was nowhere to be found at this point. The first villager I made was a Fletcher. These are clearly the best villagers to get as they provide emeralds for mere sticks, which is what I used to get our first emeralds in this world. Now the empire starts, just you wait. Day 30, we watched as the border expanded, giving us more land to terraform, which had to be done near the farm. The overgrown landscape was taken down as I terraformed it to use to expand the farm, so I could later make the villagers breed to eventually have enough Fletchers, armorers, and Librarian, which reminds me I again won't be able to afford those if I don't grow and cut down some more trees. Back to work for me. At the end of the day, we had collected around 30 emeralds, which may not seem like a lot, but remember, we started in a single chunk and we have basically nothing. Okay, so it wouldn't be one of my videos if I forgot to record, so when I finally did press the button, it was night. But the best part had just happened. We finally got a wandering trader, someone who can grant me lovely spruce. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! This is the worst tree imaginable, and it grew outside the border. Why is this even a thing? It sucks. Bad addition to the game for sure, so I burned it down. No, I'm not kidding. I actually burned this thing down as a way of removing the entire tree because I can't leave the border. Don't judge me. I hate mangrove. Morning time came and I went back to working on the Squidwards. I had to move over 2 more Fletchers so I can make higher profit. Y'all know I need like 500 emeralds just to unlock diamond armor, and the wood business is the opposite of booming. So while Chloe was monitoring the tree growth, I was tending to the mob farm to get bone meal. As I was up top slowly dealing with mobs, she was below using what I threw down to grow and harvest the trees. This wasn't unusual throughout the 100 days as building up our emerald income was top priority. But 2 days of work was not gonna cut it as we only got 2 or so stacks of emeralds. We knew we had to go further. However, I feel like I've explained the process enough, so let's just cut to the chase. After an extra 3 days, we should have plenty of wood to trade up, but first, I had to move the breeder to make room for a new Squidward stall. The place was to be for armor and weapon Squidwards. And since you have seen the build before, I just summed it all up in replay. Then I tried my hand at luring a man into his new prison. I no longer shy away from what I do to these people. Minecraft has made it known that all we do is just force breed a civilization and keep them prisoner for our own personal gain. Wow, that sounds bad, but this is the way Mojang intended it. Day 38, I went through and traded all of the hard-earned Minecraft cash for stone axes. How is this efficient? It's not. The fact is, villagers are a scam, and it's costing me stacks of emeralds. To take out my anger, I made Chloe pick up all of the garbage. But I did get her compensation for such a crime by trading up to an efficiency 2, unbreaking 2 diamond axe. Now her free labor of chopping trees can increase in productivity. To end out the day, I watched 2 villagers play with carrots while sharing the same pixels. This game's weird. Day 39 wasn't very productive money-wise. I once again took the hard-earned green and dumped it into a guy whose only goal was, However, it paid off some time later as I was able to get Chloe and I full diamond armor. We used this to venture into the caves once more, stumbling upon nightmare fuel. It seemed to go fine though, as Chloe took the brunt of the damage and I kinda just watched. Now what we really came down here for. Obsidian. Time to go to the Nether. Just after I watch all 4,000 Marvel movies ever made while this stuff breaks. Now that that's over, I used my money to get fortune pickaxes, then of course combine them into getting one epic, highest level fortune pickaxe possible. That's a sentence. I went back down into the caves to rediscover some of the diamonds we had already found, and ended with 98 diamonds. Meaning we still have more green gem than blue gem. Oh yeah, nothing actually changed. But hey, we could have technically crafted our own armor at this point. Day 40, the border opened up another 10 blocks, meaning I have more to work with on the castle. Yeah, we fished instead. Kinda. Okay, we started out with the castle goal in mind until I noticed how bad the pond looked, and I wanted to expand it. So working on removing trees, adding more dirt to the perimeter, filling it with water, another night elapsed. We were done, fishing like kings and queens in a slightly bigger pond. I wish we had a neighbor across this lake so we can shun him. Is that rude? Day 42, I took down the trees in front of our castle and moved them over to the side. Yeah, that was it. That's exciting, right? I also harvested the farm and totally spent my time well, cause that was all that I did. Do I remember more? No. Did I probably do more? Also no, I lack brain cells. Okay, day 43, we went into the Nether for the first time, and as luck would have it, we spawned directly in a fortress. Apparently, the border doesn't work in other dimensions, so we can actually run around here, which is great. The only reason we're here, though, is for the blaze rod. For one, we can attempt some potions, and two, we can leave the overworld and fall directly into the end, where a giant purple dragon will try and protect the egg it hasn't pooped out yet. Wait, how does Minecraft make sense? At home again, we took care of our chicken problem by forcing the species to repopulate at an extraordinary rate. Then we went back to the pond. It's a good spare time activity and we could get a nice book out of it at some point. What, you're not a big fish guy? You're more of a meat guy? Well, eat shrimp, I don't know. The next few days, I dipped my toe back into the red abyss on the search for a Bastion. Now this isn't 1.20 where I need to find a template to make Netherite armor, but it is still fun to invade the piglins' home and steal their gold just to give it back to them later. Once I spotted one, I knew right away it wasn't the fun one, but at least it's a Bastion. I took from the bottom layer first, not finding anything of great value, but later stormed the castle, finding away some brutes for the overarching goal of a useless diamond pickaxe. What an investment. And just like I said I would, I continued capitalism by reselling my stolen goods. I don't remember what I wanted either. I guess shoving these items back into the economy was my only goal. Day 48, I went back to villager trades. We need a librarian who offers a decent book and bookshelves in one trade. I've never had to try for this before, but let me tell you, it sucked. Finding a good book from these scam artists was hard enough, but having the trade also contain a bookshelf was much worse. Eventually, late into the day, I got Feather Falling 4 and a bookshelf trade, so I took that as fast as you can say dog hoof 13 times without laughing. I don't know why I just said that out loud. I used those bookshelves to work on the enchantment table setup to finally get rid of these 72 levels I have procured. But I did only get 12 shelves from the first trade, so I had to wait a little bit longer till the level 30 was an option. So just to secure future trades, I went back to tree chopping and trading sticks for emeralds. The next day, Chloe went back to work on fishing and I dealt with the chickens. Isn't it fun when we're all members of the family? Ignore those death noises, that's not happening. I was also able to finish out the enchantment table and start using my levels. The first enchant I did was on a pickaxe, which gave me the best possible enchantment. Then I moved on to making the perfect axe, getting 2 with efficiency 4, later to combine those for a max axe. Then I went to the armor, which played me for a fool. My chestplate trolled me, while the helmet apologized for what was to come as I got decent leggings and crappy boots. However, after all my levels were good and gone, I had a successful Prot 4 unbreaking set with efficiency 5 tools. I would say today has already been a great success. Then I went back to mob grinding. As I whacked away at these horde creatures, Chloe used the bones that I would drop down to cut trees so we can invest in more green gems. Day 51, while breaking the trees once again, I noticed a bit of lag because I have eyes. So for all of day 51 and day 52, we went around the cave system removing all the overload of torches. At this point, we'd kind of had enough materials from down here, and I'm gonna be honest, this place looks trash, and I'm pretty sure I'm never visiting it again. Surprise, surprise, day 53 was a bunch of cleanup stuff, making sure our base is looking clean after the border expansion we totally mentioned a few days ago. I forget sometimes, okay? Day 54, I continued to work on the castle wall, bringing up both sides to proper height while still mixing in this interesting block palette. Starting with tiles, moving into brick, skipping the polished version for some reason, then using tough blocks as a way to get to cobblestone and then stone. I still think it's a good gradient, but let me know what you think in the comments. After the base expansion happened, I started work on a new villager stall. I wasn't actually able to finish the thing as Chloe and I began playing tag. If you don't know the premise of the game, then you had no childhood. But what I want to point out is I lasted a lot longer untagged than she did, okay? At one point, I juked her at an old water drop location, at the pond where I made her swim, and even inside the castle where I Fortnited too high for her to reach. So in the end, who really won? Day 55, I moved the librarians to their own office building with nice windows and an exit everyone can totally use to get home to their families. Then Chloe found a gold zombie from the knight who ended up drowning himself just to get a look at them toes. But since it's daytime, he won't leave the pond as it's too warm out here for him. And to my unfortunate luck, I started trying to re-roll trades with the librarians. This continued into day 56, but the first thing I did that day was name our drowned friend Jimmy, Bob, and Joe. Don't question my tactics. Back to the villagers, the first book trade I got was mending, so of course I secured that trade right away. Then I found a sharpness 5 villager, which would come in handy working on my swords and axes. And lastly, after an entire day of breaking this over and over again, I still didn't have a good trade with this man. It ended up taking me until day 59 just to get the last guy to give me unbreaking. Look, I was very tired, Chloe was tired, and it went on for so long, but now that we have it, we don't have to worry about books for a while. Happy border day, everyone! This allowed me to resume my mining for diamonds. The best part is, while mining closer to the border, I found the stronghold. Okay, so technically, yes, this was planned. We had to beat the game somehow, but I didn't know where it was, so finding this was awesome. However, I kinda can't reach. It's so far. So it looks like I'll be coming back in 10 days. Other than that huge disappointment, I traded with the villagers, that was weird, and got some more emeralds. Yep, thanks, thumbs up, okay. Day 61, we headed down into the Nether to find a Bastion. Personally, I still love raiding these things, and I am excited to see them used more in 1.20. But before we could really navigate the terrain, we had to trade with a local resident to get Chloe a fire res potion. She has a tendency to fall. A lot. The first Bastion we found was the worst one possible, but raiding a home is raiding a home. We borrowed some items from them, sending a few to their graves, but got out of there with nothing of real importance. The second place we visited was rated the same, however the only prize there was gold. This was a trophy Bastion, still don't really know the name of this one, but what I do know is that the California gold rush should have happened here. With all of that loot, we bunkered into a hole and gave the gold back to the pigs at a steep upcharge. Day 64, Jimmy, Bob, and Joe's helmet broke, meaning he is closer and closer to death from the sun. I fear his death will come sooner than we think. The rest of the day is totally not a freeze frame that lasts the entire video. Oops. Wouldn't be a welcoming video without an incorrectly recorded day. Day 65, I went back to trading in useless sticks for emeralds and expanding the length of the castle. I'm honestly getting sick of just expanding this thing, meaning soon I might actually build the real deal, which I promise will happen. But before that, I went on to build a smaller tower. This one will end up being a bedroom with roof access. It took me 2 days to actually build, but lucky enough, you get to watch it in like 30 times speed. But hey, entertaining. Also, I want to note that Jimmy, Bob, and Joe is no longer with us. He chased the sun too many times and ended up spoiled meat. Hopefully, making this castle for him will let his name reign on in history. Anyway, I still wasn't done on day 67, so to finish up the build, I added a nice railing, of which I remember the rest of the castle still exists and had to add it everywhere else. Then comes the inside of the build, just a nice wooden bed, that's literally it. I can't really over-explain wood and more wood, however, I did plant trees, so that's cool. Day 68, Chloe and I went back to the Nether for Netherite. It's time we dripped ourselves out in the best looking armor. Just kidding, we were already wearing diamond. Time to make it worse looking. Now I think you get the gist of how netherite mining works. Span the pickaxe in one direction for an hour at a time and hope for the best. Thankfully, having a breaking, mending pickaxe, I was allowed to mine for a very long time, much longer than Chloe was, whose pickaxe broke almost right away. I was feeling lucky as I left this place with a stack of ancient Deborah. I have done that before, but it is nowhere near as fast as this one. But this means when turning my armor and tools, we still had plenty left to share with Chloe and the chickens, I guess. Not noticing the time, the border expanded while I was hyper-focused on the gray iron. We geared up with some pots, gaps, arrows, etc. because our goal was entering the mines right away so we could face the dragon. The portal should have opened up and we could... Oh, are you kidding me? Half of it's open. Why did it cut off? I know why, but what the heck, man? Day 71, I went back to mapping out the castle. I wanted to start by adding a large circular tower to convince myself that I was still making an actual castle. Once the shell of it was in place, I wanted to make the real kicker a large wall of the castle. However, I ended up kind of running out of deep slate, so for all of day 72, I dragged Chloe into the mines, forcing her to help me collect deep slate. Once out, I finished the wall to semi-max height where the top of the castle would be. I told you at some point you'll see my vision. Day 73 was finished out by us moving the chests to the inside part of the castle. Not that we have a real storage room for this, but we made it work by shoving all of it into a corner. Rip Chloe's organization. The rest of this day gap was spent in the mines getting coal and copper. Not that I know what to do with copper, but coal is super useful. Plus, I need it for the stone I'm sacrificing for the castle. Day 76, I continue working on the build a little bit more by adding a roof/floor to the large wall, as well as finishing up more of the railing from earlier that I forgot about. And while I was building up more of the castle each day, Chloe was hard at work getting sticks for emeralds. I still have no idea what my obsession is with having a ton of emeralds, but just knowing that I have them helps. Then for some reason, lightning struck near the house and I was like, nope, let's bed right now. Day 77, I got on to make some golden carrots cause hunger, tamed a few bony horses, still not sure how they eat or drink yet, then housed a few villagers next to a wall, so I can continue breeding them. I don't know what I'm really gonna do with them yet, but at this point, the more the merrier. Day 78, Chloe went back to organizing those chests that we moved while I ran around. No, that's serious, I kinda just ran around for some reason. I did find a project to do, however, as the pond was still not terraformed. Just after 80 days of being in this world, it's still not fixed. So I finally made it look like it was really a part of our world, and now it's as good as dirt. Then I smelted some ore for a while, walked around again because my brain takes a while to process the next step, and horses. Good day. Okay, so real talk, ignore how terrible these next 2 days are. I basically did nothing, but what I did actually do was max out a crossbow, preparing for the Ender Dragon fight I'll be taking on day 80. And for the rest of the time, I tested out the mob farm to see if it even works anymore, and I would be lying if I said it was fast. After 2 days of basically AFKing it, nothing happened. Now, for those who noticed Chloe wasn't on, let me tell you why. This video was actually originally planned for December, but during December, she left, and it's a little bit easier than saying the other thing. Unfortunately, we won't really be seeing her back in this video or on the channel ever. It's unfortunate the way things happen, but I did finish out the rest of this video for you guys. It only took me a month to do, though. Losing that kind of person in your life really affects you, so if I was slow, I apologize for that. But just know the rest of this video is still epic. Now let's not let this sad moment ruin our fun. Day 81, I chopped down all of our trees, which might I add, took way too long when they grow so obnoxiously. Then I made a roof over the baby villagers' heads to tie the area into the world, not because I care or anything. Day 82, it was time to take on the dragon. Upon entering the end, I was using a crossbow to take down the crystals. If you know me, I'm still getting used to this weapon, which is why getting the 3-piece actually surprised me. I am clearly getting better with this thing. First dragon perch, I forgot about my strength potion, but the sharp 5 axe still did basically half of its health. Second perch, it hit me away at the last second, so I had to finish it off with a crossbow. Ignore the fact that I 360'd the dragon and twerked on its body. Okay, thanks. 70 levels later, and it was time for me to find an elytra. This time, it only took me like 5 minutes to find an end city with an elytra. I harvested a bunch of shulker shells as well because I'll be needing them for the build and probably some of the loot. Making my way up the city, there were still a few rooms with goodies inside. First, getting some boots and extra diamonds. In another chest, I got a diamond sword and some pants. Then lastly, of course, I flew over to the ship, getting myself arguably the best item in the game. Since I won't be needing 2 of these in this world anymore, I flew out of there and back home, but not before I remembered the dragon egg. Then I worked on finishing the circular tower I had made previously, especially since it was not decorated at all, mainly because there were still a few blocks outside the border, but also because I'm lazy. After that, I built up the main building's walls while keeping to the elaborate gradient pattern that I have never explained before. Unfortunately, I still have the border wall to deal with, and it was a bit annoying still not having the full world. And like I said before, if we somehow hit 30,000 likes, I can get this border to expand even more in 200 days. However, until then, I finished up the balcony level of the castle. I didn't miss the water, you did. After the balcony, all I could really do is work on the rest of the base. I finished up the bulk of the exterior and began planning out the inside. The chest room was probably my favorite part as I wanted something completely new with a staircase overarching the chests, as well as many different chest locations and designs. All with a soon-to-come purpose. Oh, and you can't forget about all of the decorative leaves. They just tie the room together. Day 87 was great. I spent more than the entire day organizing all of the chests into perfect order, making sure that each item looked clean and comfortable in their home. Plus, organization makes my life easier. If you understand why I did this, a nod to you then. Day 88, I made the upstairs room, basically just a giant furnace space. I made a chimney to roast chestnuts and a spiral staircase up to the next level. This floor is almost as good as the first. Day 89, I went back to chopping down trees to prepare for the third story of the build, but since that's all I did, it was a pretty short day. Speaking of the third story, I wanted to make a custom enchant table setup that ended up looking more like a blind guy made it. To be fair to them, I'm sure they could have pulled off something so much better than this. I added high beams to the ceiling and then made myself a bed, which now that I think about it, I kind of already have a bedroom. Oh well, more bed. I also went back down to grab Deep Slate. I still have a few more additions that need to be done to the castle, and without this block, it's basically useless to attempt them. So, journey to the center of the earth it was for me. The next few days were to finally finish up the castle, a long-awaited end to such an amazing build, but I started off by wrapping around the balcony at the top so I can kind of fit it to the wall. Then of course I had to add the railing to the side as well as to the top level. It was surprisingly difficult coming up with the ladder as the way up. Normally this build uses stairs, but in this case I had literally no other real option. But the view from up here is great. Alright, we are so close to the end of the video, and the only other goal I had to achieve was a beacon. However, figuring out how to get the materials for that in less than 7 days was an issue. So I came up with the plan to expand my villagers once more by moving the breeder over and making the previous tent used for emerald collection only. Basically just trading in wood for gems, but in a more lucrative way. The new breeder looks great for being at such a weird angle, and I'm more shocked than ever that it didn't turn out to be bleh. The other idea I had, not including wood, came into fruition the next day. I wanted to use crops to boost production. However, now that I think of it, I should have come to terms with the fact that stick trades are the only way to go, and getting a max beacon in 7 days is going to be impossible by using more to make a farm. The build itself was pretty basic. I terraformed the area a little bit to be more welcoming. That's me, I said it. I added in leaves as an exterior and finished it off with enough light to re-blind that guy from earlier. But once everything was planted, I had realized the time wasted will end up costing me more than some measly potatoes. Day 86, I was hard at work trying to max out a sword. Yes, once again, I had forgot the entire idea of the last few days and turned to librarians. I attempted to get one of them to sell me a looting 3 book as I still need the skeleton skulls for the wither. Once I had an adequate sword, I turned into the burnt iron and headed into Nether. Among the first few skeletons I whacked over the head, a skull had dropped, then another and another. How much of an epic moment is that? So with all the materials I need to spawn the wither, I headed down below the world to take him on myself. Wait, I'm blind. What happened? Is he... Oh, he's dead already. I just got here. Okay, that didn't really happen that fast, but let's be honest, it should with how weak this quote-unquote boss is. Back on the surface, I was hard at work chopping trees. Day turned into night, trees turned into gems, night back to day, trade after trade until I had this. A stack of blocks and a bit. That won't work. And all the trees are dead. I killed them. So in my last desperate attempt that I know wouldn't work, I headed into the warped forest. I mined this entire place down in hopes to gather just enough for a full beacon. If only I had 2 people. Okay, joking. However, after deforesting in 2 dimensions, I only ended up with a stack and a half of complete emerald blocks. I placed them down, defeated, but at the same time, very hopeful. If I didn't complete the beacon now, then we hit 30,000 likes and I have another try. But the sun rose on day 100 and I was done. All this work, this entire build in less than 100 days, and the border was my home. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button as I've said many times before, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I also have a Discord server that I'm trying to revamp right now, so make sure to join that down below. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, don't forget to check out the merch, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.